everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Clonestar podcast. I am your host, Mike Overton, and joining me in the co-host seat this week is my wonderful friend from Trekking Up North, Captain Michael Goodwill, aka Mike number 2.
Hi, Mike number 1.
I'm good, thank you, Mike number 2. And joining us this week, we've got an incredible guest. We are joined by someone who is such a huge part of Star Trek fandom. Singer, comedian, character actress, and quirky redhead, as per her Facebook page. An incredibly recognizable person, not just for her portrayal as the Protostar's computer, but being incredibly active in fan circles on social media. We are delighted to be joined by someone who embraces the most positive aspects and the love of Star Trek. This week's guest is the wonderful Bonnie Gordon. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Can you just follow me around and intro me everywhere? That was wonderful.
Who did I have? Who did I interview? I interviewed somebody last week. My weeks have just kind of like merged into days. Who did I interview last week? It was James Frayne, the wonderful James Frayne. And he essentially turned around and said, "Can you be my publicist, because you do it 10 times better than my publicist." It's like, yep, we'll just record it and you can just hit play every time that someone wants to go.
Intros always sound better in a British accent. So I feel like when I walk into a room, I can just press play, like, introducing character actress, singer, voiceover. I'm like, yeah, that's Mike.
I tell you what, I'll send you a recording and you
No.
No, you need to follow her around everywhere.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'll send you some notes. It'll be fine. I'll send you
going
my schedule. You can
just going into Walmart, just going, "Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnie Gordon." And
yes.
Trumpets and yes.
Oh, I don't need to be introed at Walmart. They know me by name there.
Oh, darling.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm the blue light special.
The Polaroid doesn't lie.
No.
Yeah, I'm on their most wanted wall. The do not allow inside. Anyway, thank y'all so much for having me here
thank
today.
you for coming on. So, I tell you what, let's go right back to the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll put some fancy effects in.
Okay.
So let's talk about your upbringing a little bit. Did you grow up in a creative household?
Yes and no. I grew up in Louisiana, born and raised, and my mother is very musical. She can play a lot of different instruments and sings, but has terrible stage fright. My father, is a gutsy, like, go-to businessman with no musical talent whatsoever. So between the two of them, I get my I think my musical talent from my mother and creativity a lot from my mother, and then the balls to get up and do it from my dad. So it's a nice little mix. And my aunt on my father's side is also very musical. She was and into the arts and acting and whatnot. So, but yeah, I grew up, when you grew up in Louisiana, there wasn't a lot of theater and opportunities. I had to do a lot of, like, the little summer community theater and different things like that, like searching for it, having to drive an hour, 2 hours just for a rehearsal, but it was worth it.
So is that where you get your music love from then, your mum?
I mean, I get my love for music from both of my parents, because my father loves music and they both have amazing taste in music. I grew up on, like, really great classic rock, everything from, like, Queen and Fleetwood Mac to Joni Mitchell, a lot of Joni Mitchell. My mom was a huge Joni Mitchell fan, still is. I don't know why I'm using past tense, but she's still around. And then also my mother, she was a fan of musicals too. So I got that. I was intro to that at an early age. She loved the musical The Fantastics, and I knew that musical like the back of my hand. So when I moved out to LA and I got cast in it out here, it was like a dream come true for her to fly out to Hollywood to see
Like full circle.
Her favorite musical. Yeah, it was really wonderful. And
what's your favorite musical?
Oh God, I have to choose.
Yeah.
I really. No, that's really tough. It's really tough. There's like, I like, this is my favorite classical musical. This is my favorite like comedic musical. This is, I there's too many to decide. I will say the musical that changed my life though. I was 9 years old and I saw Phantom of the Opera for the first time. And I remember being 9. I remember during intermission, I had to pee so bad. But then I was waiting in line like a good little, theater
No
goer, and the lights started flashing to let everyone know that it was about to start again. And I was like, hell no, I'm not missing a second of this. So I raced back, raced back in there and just suffered through the entire second act. Just like, but I remember looking up at my mom after the show and being like, this is what I want to do. And my mom went, oh no, I've created a monster. 'Cause I was also a weird, awkward kid. And, I'm looking at the role of Sarah going like, I could be a prima ballerina, operatic soprano. And my mom's like, yeah, no, you can't. No. Like, you can barely walk straight, let alone do a plie. So, yeah.
What was your first musical?
That I was in?
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh. Maybe
But-
I did like small little community theater when I was young, like third, fourth grade, fifth grade. Maybe The Wizard of Oz. But I
My
was
first musical.
yeah.
see-
No, actually Annie. I was Annie in this like weird thing. But then I was in this Wizard of Oz production, but I was one of the kids. So like I wasn't going to be
Yeah.
playing a lead. But I was like, ooh, I get lines because I was the mayor of the Munchkin City. And I came out, I was like, as mayor of the Munchkin City, in the county of the... I was so proud of myself, like coming out like, yes, here I go, I always would get the weird character roles. I was never going to be a Cinderella. I'm always a stepsister or stepmother. Those are the more fun roles for me, but... I'm always those weird, wacky character roles. I'm not an ingenue, and that's okay.
See, mine was Grease. My first musical was Grease.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
That you started
The hand
or-
jive will
Yeah,
always be in your hand.
Yeah,
in your head.
I still remember the hand jive even now. Yeah, I was Sunny. I was one of the. Yeah, I had the leather jacket and everything.
The T-Birds.
Yeah, one of the T-Birds.
Oh,
It was great. I mean, it was great.
need to
I mean,
see this.
this was at school, so this is like high school. So
Yeah.
and we did 4 performances. We did 2 during the day. So we did a Friday and we did Thursday and a Friday. So 1 during the day, and then we did 1 in each evening as well. Yeah.
I was the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. And I sort of jazzed it up, and he was rather camp, my version of the Cowardly Lion.
I love it.
So he would just like, oh, hello, Dorothy. You
Rower. Yeah.
And I remember, it scarred me for life. I remember the costume. They'd ordered this costume, and it was all spandex. And this was like, theatre lights, all
Oh my
spandex.
gosh.
They had to order fur shorts because it left nothing to the imagination.
You were
so it was-
basically Rum Tum Tugger from Cats
Yes.
as the Cowardly
Yes.
Lion. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. See, anyone watching this who don't enjoy musicals are like, oh God,
What?
what has this turned into? Isn't this a Star Trek episode? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, but
everything
we have
links
to
to
get
Star
there.
Trek.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
we have to tell the journey of how you got there.
The
Okay.
Tin Man, Origin of the Borg. There you go. You see, we've linked it. We're done.
Tin Man. Oh, God, could you imagine if that was really the case? Tin Man was
He-
the origin to the Borg.
His quest for organic components led to the technological and biological distinctiveness that adds to our own.
I feel like the Tin Man story most parallels Data's.
I was exactly that.
It's the android looking to find the emotions and the heart and wanting to feel more human, like the Tin Man wanting his heart.
Yeah.
See, that is how you segue, Mike. Number 2.
Yes.
Damn.
Bonnie, can you give him lessons?
But no, theater was a big part of my life. I was a speech and debate kid. I competed in speech and competitive drama and loved to sing. Got my start singing in New Orleans when I was like 16, 17, professionally in like bars and Irish pubs. So it was a very different upbringing that most people would expect. Like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, singing in a pub when in a bar I'm not even supposed to legally be allowed in.
I was going to say, and if you're like 16, you got at least 6 years before you can drink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's New Orleans, so
Yeah, that's true.
it's
So,
New Orleans before Katrina, so who knows what was happening
Oh.
down there. Yeah.
so who are your inspirations then?
This is a great question. So I have my main holy trinity of comedic women who
Right.
are my who inspire me in career wise and whatnot. Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball, and Mae West. Now you also have to sprinkle a little Bette Midler and Dolly Parton in there, as well as Miss Piggy. She's a boss bitch.
She's a boss lady.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, you know, growing up, I was kind of like the weird kid. What do you know?
We were
But I
all
also,
weird kids.
I know, but
All
I
nerds
kind
are
of
weird
looked,
kids growing up.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I kind of looked funny. I didn't have a lot of friends when my younger years. So, and it kind of always felt out of place. And here's my younger sister who's like this gorgeous cherub of a, child with the blonde curly hair and blue eyes and, looks always dressing up like the princess. And here I'm like coming in like doopy doopy, uh, playing like the Riddler, like Jim Carrey characters. So I kind of felt out of place. And then I remember watching the Carol Burnett show and like I Love Lucy, going like, oh, I don't have to be a princess. I can be the funny one.
Yeah.
And these were women that were like beautiful
Yeah.
women, but they were not afraid to be ugly. And that was the lesson for me because whenever I did theater or any type of performance where I was a comedic role, when you go in for these auditions, some of these young girls were so worried about their appearance and how they looked
Yep.
for this. I was just like, like just go all in and just create this wacky character. Who cares if you look terrible? So I would always get those roles, like the kind of weird, wacky roles with the funny voices, like the Mother Gooses of the plays.
But would you have had it any other way?
Absolutely not.
See?
And actually, being in theater was such a great beginning training. That sound these words. This grammar is not correct. Please ignore my words as coffee has not yet kicked in. But it was great for me to segue into voiceover because I do so many different voices and characters. Same thing in theater. It doesn't matter. I can play the old lady. I can play the little 8-year-old. I can play all these different things because in theater, it's all about using that imagination to create the story. In film, they're a little bit more, how do you look for the part?
Yeah.
Not about, can you transform into the part? So
Yeah. So you were about 9 then when you decided that you wanted to do stage acting.
I always wanted to, I knew I was always going to be, like, it was obvious that I was always going to be in the arts, even though, like, even as like a young kid,
Yeah.
I had like a slight speech impediment, and the doctor would be like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'd be like, "A movie star." And he's like, "Okay, you weirdo, a movie star." And no, not quite. But then when I discovered stage, I went, "Oh, I could do this." I think theater will always be my first love. That instant laugh, that instant reaction that you get. It's like,
You got something to bounce off of, haven't you, with an audience?
Exactly. I always laugh. I feel more comfortable talking to a room full of 1,000 people on a stage than I do at like a party of 10. Like, where I'm just like, okay, but I'm just like 1,000 people in front of me that, can't see their faces. The lights are shining. I'm like, yeah, give me this. I'm so confident and comfortable with all of you.
It
So-
must
In
be
a room full of strangers, I'm like, what's happening?
it must be the instant adrenaline that you get in theatre, because a lot of actors always say they prefer theatre because they have that instant interaction, that instant bond with the audience, because they are right there and they can interpret what the audience likes, what the audience doesn't
Yeah.
like, and that energy in which the audience possesses, you just absorb
That
it,
power
and it
they
just drives your
possess.
performance. Yeah, it drives your performance, and I've never
Absolutely.
experienced an adrenaline rush like being in theatre, so to do it
Hmm.
professionally, it must be like a drug, just constantly.
It is. It is. It's that constant dopamine. I feel like a good way to putting it is how you were saying that connection with the audience.
Mm.
For me, there's a level of intimacy that you're sharing a piece of yourself
Mm.
with these people. And the fact that you, for however long you're on that stage, you are their escape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That instant reaction of emotion, whether it be laughter, whether it be tears, whether it be
yeah,
um, just delight. They don't have to laugh at you or at you, but depending on what kind of act you're doing, I feel like that instant connection and intimacy with an audience, it
yeah.
you get something from them, and then you give a piece of yourself to them, and it's I don't know, it's very special.
So, at what point then did you decide that you wanted to go into voice acting?
My voice acting career was quite I wouldn't even say unusual. Not the usual path most people take. A lot of voiceover actors are going in, getting that the agent and
Yeah.
taking workshops and classes. I did do that, by the way. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying it was just one of those rare serendipity, it's all about who you know moments. I was doing theater in LA, and one of the shows I was in was a 1920s radio play that we recorded live in front of an audience. And most all the actors in that show were voiceover actors who aren't, very well known in the VO world. I mean, people like Matt Mercer and Taliesin Jaffe, like critical role people.
Yeah,
Um, if for all those D&D nerds out there.
yeah, yeah.
But they're really good friends of mine, and I always joke that they're the reason I have a voiceover career. Taliesin especially took took me aside and was like, you really should look into doing voiceovers. And I think he was working on some kind of little indie game at the time, and so he recommended me to the company because they needed a last minute cast change for a villain. So I got to go in and be a demon, and it was so much fun. And I was like, wait, I can get paid to do funny voices? Wait a second. Time out, time out. You're telling me. So it was one of those moments where like a light bulb went off, and I go, you can't make a living doing theater in LA. There's just no way.
Yeah.
But voiceover was like my segue job because it was
Mm.
I can walk in, play the little kid, play the old lady, play 20 characters. They don't care what you look like, how much you weigh, if you brush your hair. They're like, can you come in and do the job?
Yep. You
So
can walk in
that was
pajamas and no one cares.
oh, I do. Oh, I do. To walk into a job where I don't have to like put makeup on or fix my hair, it's beautiful. I'm like, oh, this is so nice. Just give me my tea and let me go.
So, staying on the stage, as it were, how did you get
Mhm.
into comedy?
I was always a ham. I was
Ah.
always a maybe that's why Miss Piggy's my inspiration. Just a big old piece of pork. No, I always loved making people laugh. And because I was a weird kid and kind of like when I say okay, let me give you a visual, like thick glasses, braces with headgear, so you could like
Oh,
hang your clothes
Oh,
on me. I walked funny and like kind of my feet were extremely turned in. When I was very young, they put braces on my legs. I was just, very nerdy and there wasn't a lot of people that I connected with.
yeah.
I was reading like Lord of the Rings in like third grade. Kids were like,
oh,
while all my friends were listening, or all my peers, I should say, were listening to like New Kids on the Block, and I was
Yep.
like listening to the soundtrack of Riverdance, that kind of thing.
And
So
I mean, growing up as a
yeah.
kid, I watched Hook
Oh,
religiously. It was so bad, my parents had to re-buy the VHS because I wore it out.
oh,
yeah.
And
I remember that.
Riverdance.
Yes, I'm
That's
telling you,
literally
man.
all I watched as a kid. Like even now,
Finian's
I can
Rainbow
watch.
was one of my favorites.
Yeah, even now I can watch Hook, and I still know most of the
I
script.
love Hook. I loved all those, everything from like Labyrinth Legend.
Yep.
I was a big fantasy nerd, and then as I got older, that transitioned into sci-fi for love for me. But the comedy thing, I just always loved performing, and if people weren't laughing at me, and I was doing something funny that they were laughing in a positive way, that
Yep.
was like, oh, this is great. I remember, um, we had like a little kindergarten play for our parents, where we're all like doing things. And I was the only one in the class that could like project well and be articulate. And so I got all these lines, and some of them were pretty funny. And I was just, the parents started laughing, and I was like, the power I feel, And then I'm just like, and then I just got bigger and bigger with it. My teacher's like, calm down, Bonnie, calm down. Um, and it was like about Paul Bunyan or something. And I'd be like, look at that wonderful tree. I made it so big and campy. And all these parents, would start laughing. And I'm like, oh, I found my calling. It became that level of,
So you
I don't
became the
know.
class clown.
I wasn't even the class clown.
The class
I
stand-up
don't
comedian.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved improv. I loved doing, I loved music. So I would go to, when we'd be at a restaurant and someone was celebrating a birthday, you know, my family would be talking and they'd look to the side and be like, where did Bonnie go? And then they'd see me going to that table. After the servers would sing happy birthday, I'd go to the table and I was like, excuse me, do you want me to sing you happy birthday? And they usually would be like, where is this child's parent? And I'd be like 5 or 6 years old and I'd be like, happy
And they're like,
birthday,
who
doing my
the
little
heck is
dance. Yeah.
this?
Who is this child? Who let her off her leash? I was just a ham. I just wanted to perform. I don't always. So,
So, do you find it daunting at all going on stage, trying to make people laugh?
no, I mean, that's the thing is, you always get that energy rush, you know, I don't feel like I get stage fright anymore. I do get like nervous energy in
Yeah.
a good way, but like stage fright is definitely not the word for it because I think I trust myself. I trust my instincts. If something's gonna go wrong, I trust my instincts to fix it on the fly,
Yeah.
which is probably not the best.
No, but also, who knows that it's wrong other than you?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Sheer terror. I perform at the Magic Castle a lot, with
Oh,
magicians in
love
Hollywood.
that place.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And when magic goes wrong,
Mm,
audience tends to know.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
me as like the comedic assistant, it's always up to me to kind of like put a band-aid on it.
Yeah.
Misdirection. So
Look over here. Nothing going on over there. Look over here at me.
yeah, what
Yeah.
what
Let
do
me
you
out,
mean?
Johnny.
So,
What do you mean that illusion's broken? Look over here, I'm wearing sequins. Hey, yeah.
sparkly. Okay, what is your okay, we'll go with either best or worst story
Uh-oh.
of doing stand-up.
Oh, well, this is great because they're pretty much the same story. Because I'm not a stand-up comedian at all. I don't do
No.
stand-up, but I've done it on accident. It was a date, a first date, and this
God.
gentleman, bless him, no ill feelings towards him. He was a very nice person. He took me to an open mic to watch him do stand-up for a date.
Did you have to literally show him how it was done?
Well, I was like, I need a drink for this. I'm gonna need it. So we get there early. I order a drink, and the bartender gives me this raffle ticket. And I love raffles. I love sweepstakes. I love trying to win things. And I was like, a raffle! Oh, I'm so excited. So I put my name on the ticket and I drop it in the bucket. I'm just like, I'm gonna win the raffle. Because I'm pretty lucky with raffles. And this one was no exception. Before the show starts, they're shaking the bucket and they pull a name and it's mine. And I'm thrilled. And I go up there for my prize and they hand me the mic and say, you have 5 minutes. We'll flash the light at 4. Oh no, that was the sign up for the open mic, was putting your name. You have to buy a drink in order to be able to enter. Me never being here before, not knowing this, I just wanted to win a prize. So
You
my
did.
opening bit, yeah, I opened the open mic and my opening bit was, I thought this was a raffle, and everyone's laughing, and I was like, this is not a bit. And I just had to improv for 5 minutes, and you don't realize how long that is until you're up there. That's a long set
Yeah.
for an open mic that has a lot of people waiting. So I had a full house because it was the start of the night, and no one believed it was my first time. I did a bunch of impressions. I think I did like an impression of Carol Channing watching a dirty movie, like, oh my goodness, don't put that in there. It was terrible. It was so weird. Not my best work. However, I don't think my date was very pleased because at the end of the night, I did very well and he did not. He
Oh
finished
dear,
towards
what a
the end of the
shame.
night. He had like an empty room. It was not great.
Oh,
That was
no.
both our first and last date, but bless him for trying. He was a very nice person. And then I was just like, oh, I can see why people enjoy this, but I don't think stand-up's for me. And then fast forward to this year, January 1st, a friend of mine's doing a comedy night. He does
Yep.
hosts comedy shows around LA and asks if I want to do the comedy night. And I'm like, absolutely. And when people ask me that, I assume they mean to bring my comedy music because I do a lot of parody and comedy music and
Yep.
nerdy songs. That are on the humorous side. So I automatically assume he's bringing me in as a comedy musician. And I get there and I'm like, oh, where do I play my tracks? Where do I do this? Like, there's nowhere to. And the night's progressing, and finally I get up to him. I'm like, hey, what am I supposed to do with my music? Is there someone running the sound with a laptop? He goes, oh, we don't have a way of playing tracks or music here. And I'm like, then what do you have me here for? He goes, for your stand-up. And I'm like, I don't do stand-up.
You do
And I'm
now.
like, and then I'm like, okay, well, at least, okay, well, I've done this before. This is not my first rodeo of getting up and doing stand-up on the fly. So, like, when on the schedule am I? He goes, oh, you're my headliner. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So here I am doing stand-up for the second time ever in my life as the headliner. Oof, it was fun. I mean, again, I just was like, here we go again. And I opened my set with telling the story of the first time I did stand up. And going, and this is now number 2. So you guys are getting
We're getting a rerun.
we're getting a rerun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that
Anyway.
note of impressions, what's your favorite impression to do?
Oh gosh. Well,
And
going
Goodwill, I'm
back
going to ask you the same question.
Going back to the Cowardly Lion, one of the impressions I get to do quite often is Judy Garland and
Ooh.
Dorothy. Yeah. And I do love doing Carol Channing. I do love I love doing voices. I love creating the characters. Like, who cares if it's an impression? I like creating original characters. But I do get the whole oh dear, you're just a big coward. You're not a real wizard at all. I just want to go home. It's just basically she's just very excited all the time. So I love doing that one. She's a fun character to pull out because everyone recognizes it and everyone immediately, it makes everyone smile immediately. Fast forwarding to Star Trek, I was very lucky to be called in originally to do scratch vocals for Star Trek Prodigy. And I was the scratch voice of Janeway for a short time because Kate was so busy, and we recorded all of this. It wasn't that she was busy. We recorded all of this during COVID, season 1.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, how do we get them the equipment? Can they record from home if they don't have a professional setup? That whole kit and caboodle. So getting to go in and doing all of Janeway's lines before she could do it, because the animators needed something to animate too, and Janeway's such a distinct sound and cadence. However, she did not. When I met her in person for the first time, she goes, "I hear you do my voice." And I'm like, yeah. She goes, "Do it. Let me hear it." And I did it. She goes, "I don't sound like that. You sound like Katharine Hepburn." I played her on Broadway, Like that's like, I was so terrified of shaking. Like, oh God, she doesn't like me.
Oh,
I hear you do my voice.
that's brilliant. So
Thank
go on,
you.
Goodwill. What's your impression then?
You want me to do it? I'm very much like you, Bonnie. I like to create the character, and sometimes I'll just create the character on the fly. So when I did Twitch I would create a persona depending on the game. So
Oh,
if I
okay,
did,
okay.
so if I did American Truck Simulator, I was an American trucker called Truck World, and it was just like, "Y'all don't let my driving," and I just play guitar and sing and everything like that. But I used to be able to do Sean Connery when I had a deeper voice, when I was on
Oh,
the bad cigarettes, and
oh
it would just
yes, the
be
Siggies. Is that what they
the
call them?
ciggies,
The
yeah, the
Yep.
ciggies,
Siggies. Oh
and
yeah.
Or the fags if you're from different
Ah,
parts of the
the
UK.
old-fashioned, yeah.
but it was just basically
Veto,
Sean
veto.
Connery. Yeah, yeah. It was Sean Connery discussing which Hollywood celebrities he would slap. So like, gosh,
Oh,
deliciously. She had to
please don't hit me, Mr. Connery.
get Captain Janeway. She can two-fix me anytime, and it's you know what I mean. It's stuff like that.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Nice.
Oh, well, if you two,
Mike's
but I,
gonna
I
cut
better
all
do
of
mine now, better I?
Yeah. All right,
Well,
my
it.
number one.
mine's Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh, hello, dear. You've Virginia Doubtfire here. Isn't that wonderful, pet?
That's really good.
Why are
Oh
we
my
doing the Irish
gosh.
accents now, dear? Oh,
Oh,
hello.
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 Used to make me laugh. Well, a shop I used to work at, it used to have IP phones, so internet phones, but there was an emergency phone out the back. No one knew the number to it, but used to get sales calls all the time. So I just used to pick it up, and it'd be someone from India saying, "There's a problem with my computer." And I go, "No, dear, it's a problem with me computer." Just really take them for a ride. It's brilliant, lots
Oh,
of fun.
It's
being a
really weird.
voice
Yeah.
that does computer voices and AI, it's
Mhm.
great to get those telemarketers where they're like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, hello, thank you for calling Bonnie Gordon. To reach Bonnie Gordon, please press 1. To reach, and I would just like, and then they
Please
just
tell me
always
that's
hang
your
up.
voicemail.
Yeah.
No, my voicemail, for voicemails, I usually do songs. I think my
Okay.
current voicemail is the tune to Fever, like, um, never know how much you called me,
Yeah.
never, you leave a voicemail when you got me, yeah, voicemail, da-da-da-da-da, and I'll get back to you, yeah. Leave a voicemail at the beep. It's something silly like that. It used to be the Ghostbusters theme, and it's like, when you call my phone and I don't pick up, what you gonna do? Leave a message. It was one of those.
I
Let's see,
always
I
go
had
back
another
to
one. The
You
Mentos
need to set up
commercial.
a Fiverr. You need to go on
yeah, you do.
Fiverr.com and just
Yeah.
sell them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've done voicemail songs for my friends before. Um, my favorite is the Mentos commercial. Do you guys have that out there?
We don't have the
The
Mentos. We have
Mentos.
No
Mentos, but not the commercial.
commercial. No.
They came with like in the 90s and had the best song. Do 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 ah. Like one of those really weird, cheesy, campy jingles.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
like voicemail, the message maker, it was that kind of level.
So, Bonnie, what drives you or motivates you?
I was about to say a limo. No, just kidding.
A
I wish. a
Hummer?
20
No.
a 2013 Chevy Spark, duh. um what drives me? The love for it, I think.
Yeah.
Because again, anyone who says they're in this industry for the money is a liar. Because sadly, it's a constant struggle. Unless you're at the top, unless you're like some Tom Cruise level,
Yeah.
it's so difficult to make a living being in entertainment out here, especially in LA where it's just so expensive.
Mm.
And I think my next full day off is like in September sometime. Like between doing conventions and like juggling like 2 or 3 jobs out here, I'm constantly making sure that I'm what's the word I'm looking for?
Same.
Well, that ship has sailed, Mike. That ship has sailed. My sanity is already on a very precocious board.
Aren't we all?
Yes. We're all a little bit loopy.
Yeah. Everyone's a little bit wacky here.
Yes.
Or
You decided.
what's Al said? We're all mad here.
We decided to do podcasts. That's a normal thing for a human to do.
Oh yes, you make
Yeah,
so
who
much
in their
money in
right
that.
mind
Yeah.
decides to go and set up a podcast, eh?
But no, I don't think a lot of people realize. I feel like the strike, the writers and actors strike, really
Mm,
put a light
yeah.
onto the way actors and writers in this industry are treated. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people around the world were shocked when they found out that most of us can't qualify for health insurance.
Yeah.
You know, we in LA, it's always funny when people say they're an actor. You get picked up in an Uber or in a Lyft, and then you're just like, "Oh, you're that guy from NCIS." Like you recognize everyone in this town for being in some kind of thing.
Yeah.
The person making your coffee was also a series regular on one of your
Yeah.
favorite shows last year. But sadly, that's just the name of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Michelle Hurd really shone a
oh,
light.
she was a
Yeah.
warrior in it,
It
and
was amazing.
the things that she would say, they're all true.
Yeah.
So to going back to answering your question, I'm not in it. I'm not in this industry. In fact, I don't even think I want like the fame and the fortune. I guess the money, having some kind of comfortable living would be nice.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in the whole money doesn't buy happiness scenario, but to be able to pay your bills and to not, worry about where your next meal is coming from is always that's just like basic
Yes.
living needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do believe that it helps a little.
Yeah.
But I do this because I love it. My whole life, my goal has been to make a comfortable living doing what I love. I'm not quite there yet, but I get closer and closer with every gig. So it's just a matter of time before I, book something that gets me to that next level of,
Yeah.
oh, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I'm in it because I love it. I mean, I don't know what else I would do. If my whole family wants me to move back home, take over the family business, that whole song and dance, and I would be miserable. And I'm like, what's a balance for me? How much do I value, getting that comfortable paycheck or getting that fulfillment of my soul? And
Well, they always say, don't they?
I sacrifice I
uh,
sacrifice a fancy lifestyle
yeah.
to I do the whole struggle of the starving artist life to be able to say I get to do what I love.
Yeah.
And that's a blessing.
Well, they say if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life.
Exactly. I'm basically unemployed. But what drives me is my love for it, really. The love for it. The if I remember during COVID, I think we all went a little mad. And I needed to be creative. I needed to create. And that's when I realized, oh, there is no other path for me.
Yeah.
It's this or bust. So I was creating music videos in my bedroom, trying to stay sane. I wrote a whole album and recorded a whole album during COVID, my solo album. So yeah.
Got to keep the brain going somehow.
I have ADHD, so it's going all the time.
24/7, yeah. 1,000 miles an hour. So
Absolutely.
if you had to give some tips or advice to someone that wants to get into the wonderful world of voice acting, what would you give them?
Well, I get this a lot. In fact, I do a lot of panels at conventions that are like the tips of the trade and, behind the scenes, um, you know, stuff. And I do, if someone wanted to get into voiceover, first off, there's this website that D. Bradley Baker, the voice actor of Murph on Prodigy, created that is such a wealth of information. It's called iwannabeavoiceactor.com. Anyone who starts asking me questions, I stop them and go, first, write this website down. Everything I tell you, it's all going to be on there and more so. Like, it breaks it down for you. Instead of me rambling and throwing a bunch of, things at your face, go and read it so you can actually retain what I'm saying and not have it thrown at you like a ADHD blender. But I do say always learn how to record and edit yourself, especially since after the pandemic, most studios are open to just letting people record from home. I mean, that's how most of Prodigy was done. And, realize it's an investment. You're going to have to spend money.
Yeah.
in order if you want to become at a level where you make money. You have to buy the right kind of equipment, the right kind of mics, the right kind of soundproofing. You have to learn how to edit. I use Audacity. It's free. It's so easy. And take one of the best things one of my best tools in my toolbox for being a voiceover actor is also being a singer. So I always say, yes, take the workshops. Yes, take the classes, but take a music class, take vocal lessons, because you learn how to breathe properly. Your vocal cords, your voice is a muscle. And even if you're not a singer, you don't have to be a singer, but taking voice lessons will help you figure out where the top of your range is, where the bottom of your range is, how to breathe properly, what to do with different tonalities, because and speed and pitch. A lot of people are like, I want to get into voice acting, but I can't do a lot of voices. And I'm like, you can do more than you think. Because this is my natural speaking voice. But if I sped it up really fast and if I got really excited, I raised the pitch just slightly and then I got kind of neurotic. And this is basically a different character than what I was just doing. And then if I slow it down and it's my natural voice and I just kind of go down and lower energy, but still have that.
Sounds like a strange yogurt advert.
Yeah, but these are two different
M&S advert.
Yeah, but these are just two different characters right there in my natural speaking voice.
Yeah.
Learning how to, raising your, like all the kid voices I do a lot of way up there. And because I'm a singer, I can get those high notes without, and making it not hurt.
Yeah.
A lot of video games and anime with the fight scenes, like the charging up your fights and dying scenes are all screaming, but if you know how to use your diaphragm, you won't shred your vocal cords in the first session you do. So honestly, music lessons was the best thing that helped me when it came to voice acting. And when you do certain types of anime, English dubbing, you're matching the flap of the voices. Yeah. So it basically becomes a rhythm game, which also with music, being a musician, knowing the I can put the words in the flap and make it sound natural, because it basically just becomes a rhythm game, a music game. That makes sense.
Does make perfect sense.
What was the question again? I think I answered it.
Yep, you hit the nail on the head. So I'm going to ask you the Adam Driver question, which is, do you find it hard listening/watching back your own work?
Absolutely, I do. I'm my own worst critic. I'll watch back some things that I've done, and it's, I cringe. And listening back to things, I'm a perfectionist, so when it comes to watching things back, I constantly am like, I could have done that better. I could have done this line better. Oh, if I'd have known this was happening in the scene, I would have done this differently. Yeah. And you have to get out of your head and just let it go. Because if not, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. I will say this, it's been kind of nice when it comes to Star Trek. I play, everyone knows me as the ship computer, but I play like 4 or 5 different parts throughout the series. And my friends are all watching it, my family's tuning in, and they won't hear me. They won't, and even when the computer's going, there's people that are like, "Oh, I watched that whole episode. I didn't hear you." And I was like, "I had like 20 lines in it. I was the computer. I was this." But if you like forget and you're so caught up in the story and you're not paying attention to that, it is just the computer voice. It is just the, unable to comply, and then it blends into the world. And that's the best compliment for me, is that I didn't stand out. You didn't go immediately, "Oh, that's Bonnie." Yeah. The fact that I can, play a bunch of these characters and my voice not be recognized is a real blessing.
And also, that's a good thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll be in a session and they'll just be like, "Oh, we have this, bridge officer who has like 3 lines and is doing this and that. Can you record those quickly?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. Count me in, coach."
I think now that you are the voice of the Protostar
and Voyager, And
and Voyager.
All the
You
Starfleet
should be
computers.
you should be Starfleet standard in every TNG post TNG series going forward. You have to be.
Oh my
Majel
goodness.
Beret did it. It's time for you to take over as the master voice.
I would love that. Trust me, I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm even basically property of Starfleet already.
Not again, Captain Riker. The
I'm
holodeck is off limits.
I do feel like this is just the beginning of my journey.
Yeah.
It's opened so many doors for me. I was already doing, conventions and signings for voiceover and stuff, and I was already a Trekkie. If you couldn't tell by my, like random wall of
Never
consoles.
guessed.
I was one of the actors on the Star Trek Experience out in Vegas. That's
Yep.
what turned. That's what
We're
turned my
gonna get
Trekkie
into that a
brain.
little bit more.
Ooh.
But before we go into the wonderful world of Star Trek, what
Oh,
is one of your favorite roles that isn't Star Trek?
ooh. I wouldn't say favorite, but I think the one that I'm most known for in the gaming community is Rainbow Mika in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of Street Fighter. I get a lot of gamer folk and Capcom, professional Capcom competitors, tagging me in things with Street Fighter, and I love that. And for some reason it's gotten me fans in the wrestling community as well because she's a female wrestler. So people will be
Yeah.
like, and I'm just kind of like, you do realize I'm the voice. I mean, sure, go you. Um, yeah, they didn't like motion capture this in a ring. I wasn't actually doing flips and hitting people with chairs.
Well,
So,
yeah.
but no, I do love, and it's not even a character that I play on like television or anything, but one of the things I do every year for the past, 10, 12 years is I'm Mrs. Claus at the Magic Castle in LA. And it's
Oh,
basically me just doing Carol Channing. She's one of my favorite characters to do because I can get away with saying anything. And I've played her for so long that you can ask me any question and I can answer as Mrs. Claus. Like drop of a hat and make it funny. And the questions I get from people are in oh no, Mike's pondering now. He's thinking of but Mrs. Claus she's
Mrs.
just
Claus.
wonderful. Yes, dear.
Mrs. Claus, favorite pie? Go.
Favorite pie? Oh my goodness. I love a good cherry pie because I'm a fan of that Twin Peaks. Oh, yes. David Lynch me up, dearies. Give me that cherry pie. Oh, I'm Santa's cherry pie, if you know what I mean.
That's it. You've broken goodwill now.
Oh, isn't that
Oh
wonderful?
my god, I love
Yes.
pie so much.
I do. I'm also a fan of pie. I mean,
Yes.
ooh,
Every time I come
Sweet
to
or
America,
savory
first thing-
pie?
Sweet
both.
pie.
Why do you have to choose? What is the
Well,
Sophie's choice? What? Come on now. Why do you have to
Every time-
choose?
Every time I go to America, I make the beeline to Walmart, Ralph's, or anything.
yeah, but hang on.
Is a pie.
there is one pie that we do a million times better than the Americans. McDonald's apple pie.
Oh, get it. That's not pie. That's just nuclear fusion in pastry. It's not.
I was about to say, I was like, that's just a microwavable
No,
hot
see,
pocket.
no, see the ones in
Hot
Britain.
pocket.
The ones in Britain are much better than the ones in America because the US ones are baked and they're soft and squidgy and horrible. Ours aren't. Ours are deep fried, super crispy.
You lose your fingertips just
Yes.
handling it. Yes.
I'm glad. Well, look, let's just be fair. I think McDonald's is better anywhere but America. I remember I was shooting something in Austria called The Quest. It was amazing. But it was, they kept us on like it was like we were immersed in a fantasy world. So most of the food we ate were like, it was like meat and potatoes and breads and cheeses and like very medieval, like no sugars, no coffee, no this, no that. We were just like, oh God, going crazy. And I remember one day, it was towards the end of the production, and the catering company, apparently it was like a holiday or something in Austria where the catering company just was gone. And they had no food for us. Usually they have like food left over and then they feed us
Yeah.
for breakfast. And they had no food for for us. and they have to keep us immersed, 24/7. But we walked down. We were living in a castle. I feel like the more I don't tell you about the show, the more confused you're going to get. But we were living in a castle, and we go down into in the courtyard for our breakfast, which is usually consisting of meats and cheeses and
Yeah.
fruits of a medieval diet of like a peasants' rations. But then we get down there and there's McDonald's everywhere, and we're like, what is happening? And apparently, like, the producers of the show were in such a panic. They're like, we have to feed these people. And so they had to go to they just got a bunch and it was the best day of our lives because we hadn't eaten anything in over a month that had,
Normal.
that was like that.
Yeah.
We were like, is this Christmas? It was amazing. And I will say, best McDonald's I've ever had in my life.
Were they like, oh, it's not McDonald's, it's ye olde
Yeah, ye old
McDonald's.
Yes.
Ye
From the
old-
clan of the
One
From
is
the
loving
fantasy-
it.
the Dragon Slayer, McDonald's. Yeah.
provided this sausage and egg McMuffin.
Yeah.
Ye has doth the quarter pounder.
Oh God. Right, well, as this is a Star Trek podcast, we better start talking about some Star Trek. So,
Yeah.
obviously,
do it.
Trekkie growing up.
Actually, no.
No? Okay.
No. So I know I became a Trekkie later in life.
Okay. We'll let you off. You're still a Trekkie.
Oh yeah, you can't look. Yeah, you can't put a timeline on it. In my defense, in Louisiana, not a lot of not a lot of people that are dipping their toes in that. It was very much like you liked football, fishing,
Crocodiles.
playing in dirt. I was like, but I remember I was a big fantasy nerd, and that kind of segued me into sci-fi later in life. And I did really enjoy Star Wars. I enjoyed sci-fi. I knew of Star Trek. I mean, I knew enough of Star Trek that I could hold a conversation. I knew who the characters were. I remember it being on television and me going, "That's Whoopi Goldberg," being a fan of hers as Guinan. So I knew enough, that if it was on, I would watch it and go, "Okay, this is cool." But I, by no means, we didn't have DVD players. We didn't have, we didn't. It was like if it was on, I would watch it, and then if not, I would, just watch something else. So when I moved to Vegas and auditioned for the Star Trek experience, I had enough info to get through the audition. It was a lot of improv. But the manager pulled me aside and goes, "Okay, look, we're going to hire you for this, but you've got to start doing your research because there's only so many times you can answer that you can't break the prime directive before we know that you don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, touche. Okay. So I started watching Star Trek and then got even more into it, moving to LA, doing like full rewatches on Netflix once streaming became more popular. And I love it. I just jumped in, and it's now obviously my favorite franchise. I mean, everything I own is, has space and Star Trek on it, and I'm okay with that.
So, what's your favorite Star Trek series that you've watched?
Ooh. It's tough because I will say Next Gen is always going to be that one for me because that's what got me into it.
Yeah.
Because I was working the Star Trek experience and, walking onto the bridge, talking to a screen of Riker and like having a conversation with, Geordi LaForge. I was like, okay, I need to watch Next Generation. These are the people, the, characters that I'm talking to, yes, via a screen, but I need more context. And also this is the bridge that I'm on, I'm on the Enterprise. That's the one I need to focus on. So I started with Next Gen and then decided to go back and do like all of it kind of in order. So I went back all the way to original series, animated series, Next Gen, Voyager, DS9, Enterprise, all the kit and caboodle. I went through it all. And now what a time to be a Trekkie. Look at all the new Trek we have. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. It's wonderful to see it get revived, because when I was part of the closing cast of the experience. walking down that red carpet on the last day and like, seeing all the Klingons cry. And I'm just like, oh, this is terrible. And this was in like October 2008, September, October 2008 when it closed down. 2009 was when the J.J. Abrams
Yeah.
movie first came out, the first
Yeah.
one. And that kind of gave it a little bit of
Oomph.
breath,
Yep.
a little oomph of a new generation, a new audience discovering Star Trek because they made it, more action packed and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I feel like the experience just closed too soon because
Yeah.
if they had just held out like another year or two, I think a whole new wind of a new wave of
Yep.
fans would have discovered it. So I do feel
They could always bring it back. There is a spare Enterprise D bridge set now.
Yeah.
there is. I mean, there's so much. It was at the Hilton, which is now in Vegas, the Westgate,
Yep.
and they still have so much of that. Like you walk into their timeshare area, and it's like you see the warp core, and it's basically the promenade of DS9. You see Quark's bar. Obviously, it's all different names now, but it's all there. It's like it's all. I don't know if it's still there. It's been a few years since I've walked in there, but
So the three of us in Vegas, you're going to give us a guided tour of the hotel.
oh yeah, I'm sure they're gonna let me in that restricted area.
Of course it will. Why
I've-
not?
I've definitely snuck in there before. And like one of the janitors found me, and I was just like, or staff, and I was like, look, I used to be a part of the experience. You could just let me take a picture with the walls. And he was like, okay, weirdo.
We got a wall hugger.
Yeah, there's some weirdo hugging the walls. She's not letting go of the warp core. Someone grab her.
Actually, I found someone on Etsy the other day makes miniature 3D printed warp cores. I need to see if I can get hold of one.
Did you
What?
not see? Do you remember ThinkGeek?
Yeah, they did a USB charger one, didn't they?
The USB charger for your car that just used to
I
sit in
have
the cup holder.
so much stuff from ThinkGeek. I loved that store.
I still have somewhere. I have a set of TNG pajamas somewhere.
Why are you not wearing them?
Because
Yeah.
well, see, I work from home, so I'm in pajamas 95% of the time. I've got Marvel ones on today.
Oh, traitor.
I know. You know how difficult it is to find Star Trek pajamas? Now officially there are some, but they're 50 odd quid a pop. And it's like, I'm not going to spend £50 on a pair of pajamas.
I found this on Amazon. It's pajama. Like, I'll give you
Yes,
a
but
little-
the difference is the licensing makes it harder in the UK
Oh,
That's awesome.
because
so
it's
you
like,
basically you need people to just buy it here and ship it to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like Redbubble, a lot of the stuff on Redbubble, and what's the other one? There's another one that
Etsy?
no, it's an official one. You can get printed T-shirts.
Teespring.
No, not Teespring.
One of them.
I'm gonna find it now. T-shirts. No, not shorts. Shirts.
Well,
rabbit hole.
Mike, I have a online store now of merch.
Ooh,
Hopefully, I don't get shut down.
TeePublic.
But
Well,
oh
depends.
yeah, TeePublic.
So I can't
So-
buy anything Star Trek on TeePublic if it's part of their official license program. They don't ship it to the UK.
Well,
Can't
you
buy it.
can buy from my merch. I have one shirt that says "You are enough" in English, and then it says it in Klingon, and then it says it in Vulcan. And then I also have a red shirt with the Terran Empire symbol, and it says "Even the whales are evil."
They're never going to find out. We will never tell them.
Well, I mean, it's not a secret. I have it up online, and I also will have them for sale. I'll have them for sale at Star Trek Las Vegas, Mike. You can come to my table.
Do you do them in fat sizes?
I think we have all sizes.
Okay, as long as you go up to a 5XL, I'll be fine.
I have no idea. I'm not in charge of it.
But-
It's the same it's the same company that helps with like Chase Masterson shirts and,
Oh, okay.
and
So I've
kids'
got
charity shirts.
I have some merch that I have done, which is
That's
coming with me to
unopened.
Vegas.
Mm.
This is special print run for some people in Vegas.
Nice.
Exclusives.
Yes,
Oh,
exclusive.
so you're going to be in Vegas, just FYI. Yes, I'm doing the magic show on Wednesday, but on Sunday, we're doing a D&D one shot. Todd Stashwick is the dungeon
Yes.
master.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm already going. It's
Yay! It's going to be fun.
already on the cards, as they say.
It made me think of that when you pulled up that USS Titan. I was like, oh, Captain
Yeah,
Shaw.
I did have a whole line of merch, and then it all got pulled because Teespring wouldn't sell it anymore because Paramount moaned.
Well, they need to do
Yes.
their own merch better then, don't they?
Yes, exactly that. So, how did the role for Prodigy come about?
Well, I didn't even have a voiceover agent at the time. I wanted to audition. When I saw the article, there was like a couple articles posted of new animated Star Trek series being made.
Yeah,
Is when they announced both Lower Decks and Prodigy at the same time, and I flipped. I was so excited. I was like, I've got to find a way. I was like, I don't know how. I got to pull every single string
Hmm.
to audition for this. And I even reached out to the Hagemans and was like, hi, you don't know me. I'm a huge Trekkie and also a voiceover actor. They're like, okay, crazy lady, go away. They're like, leave us alone. Okay. And then I pulled some strings with some friends who like knew like a friend of a friend who was the assistant to someone in the office to where I did end up getting the audition through my theatrical agent for Gwen. And I auditioned for Gwen and pulled the string of a friend of a friend of a friend or whatever, making sure that it was one of the ones like on top or like making sure I actually got heard because they get hundreds and hundreds of submissions from all
yeah,
over. And so I just was like, just make sure they hear mine. Because I don't just want to get thrown away, I just wanted to get it like lost in the email shuffle. And I got a call back. So I was one of I was like, I think three people that they were considering for the role of Gwen. And I go in to Nickelodeon in person with, and then you have the room full of like the producers, the director, they have everybody, all the for my callback for Gwen. And I walk in and I remember one of the Hagemans going, is that Bonnie from Twitter? Like, oh no, is that the girl that reached out to us? So she found a way, like security. Like, I found a way in. I found the back door. I just hid in the bushes till you didn't look at me in my general direction. But yeah, I remember being in there and I was just so excited. I had like a full on like space printed dress with my comm badge, my Starfleet messenger bag, my space boots. And I walk in and they're just like, "Oh my God, this girl is ridiculous and apparently really wants this." To where we might really actually have to call security. Luckily, security was never called, but they like what they heard, and I was one of the people up for Gwen, and they ended up bringing me in to do all the scratch voice for Gwen, because I think the executives of the higher up the powers that be wanted the role to go to a more well known actor, and sadly I was not one of the people on their radar when it came to like Instagram followers and stuff. So I was like, oh man. So again, the Hagemans were so kind and they brought me in to do the scratch voice for Gwen and then for Janeway. And they were, I remember them pulling me aside and go, we're going to find a role for you. Don't worry. Like, you're going to be a part of this show. You've put too much work in. I was with them like from the beginning. Like, I was one of the first people that came in. This was pre-COVID. I
yeah.
was recording the vocals for the pilot, when we all got like the big like emergency tone on our phone saying that lockdown was going to be happening in a few days, and we were all like, whoa, it's okay, we'll all see each other in 2 weeks, that old song and
Oh
dance.
gosh.
Fast forward
Yeah.
2 years later, we're like, oh God, just give me a hug. But no, I mean, I remember it vividly, just recording Gwen and just all of us looking at our phones going, what, like we all put them on silent, what's going on, and it being like lockdown happening March 15th or
Yep.
something. It was crazy. Like, what a surreal thing to be a part of. But I mean, working with them has been just such a joy. The Hagemans, Aaron Walke, Brooke, Ben Hibben, the director, like the whole team has been just a dream to play with. And I was already a Star Trek fan. I was already in the community. I was going to conventions doing like music, nerdy parody music of Star Trek. And also, I'm on a bunch of Star Trek TTRPG shows, like on Geek and Sundry. I was on Shield of Tomorrow. I was, different. I was already on the outskirts of being Trek
On
canon.
the
And then,
peripheral. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, thank you. Yes, I was in the neutral zone and I had to get over to the Alpha Quadrant. But yeah, I feel so blessed that I was able to kind of wiggle my way in. And here's hoping that Netflix sees the fans' reactions to season 2 and picks it up for
It's
season
been
3.
it's been a critical
Yeah.
success,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's the audience absolutely love it.
Yeah, they've gone
And
bonkers for it, which honestly, the reason it exists at all is because of
mm,
you out there, the fans. Because I mean, we were canceled. We
Yeah.
were almost done. Like season 2 was pretty much almost in the can, and they
mm,
canceled us, and we were all kind of like, what? And deep down, we all knew like season 2 is better than season 1. Like season 2 is better than season 1. You can't cancel this. And so we're all kind of in panic mode. But then the Hagemans weren't worried, so then I decided that I wasn't going to be worried either.
Yeah.
And a part of me was like, well, at least I did something, like that. I was proud of the work that I did in both season 1 and season 2. I was like, maybe it'll get maybe one day they'll like release it straight to DVD or something. I thought we were for sure thinking it was going to find a home somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah,
And man, Netflix really stepped up and grabbed it,
yeah.
because that was all because of the fans, like renting a plane,
Oh
flying
yeah.
a banner over the city of LA with the hashtag Save Star Trek Prodigy. Can you imagine people's faces that had no idea what was going on, going, "What the hell? Like Star Trek Prodigy? Like what is this?" It was just so funny.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Star Trek has the best fans.
Oh,
Yes.
hands down. Because here's the thing, I do a lot of conventions, a lot, and all different types. I do like the fantasy, sci-fi, literary conventions. I do anime conventions. I do
Yeah.
regular old Comic Cons. The sci-fi Trek conventions, hands down, my favorite. It's like a dysfunctional family reunion, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's so much fun, and everyone's so accepting of everyone.
Yeah.
Mm,
And also, there's a lot of gatekeeping in fandoms, and I feel yes, in Star Trek too, there's always the haters, but it's not to the extent of other fandoms.
Yeah.
And people are more likely to just be like, okay, you enjoy what you enjoy, I enjoy what I enjoy, and we just leave it at that. And also, a lot of Star Trek fans believe in science, which is really nice, considering the way our country and world is going right now when
Yep.
it comes to
yep.
global warming and the pandemic. And I love that science is really the backbone of Star Trek.
Yep.
And also the idea of the Federation is such a thing that we should be trying to reach for now in our society,
Yep.
of coming together instead of being pulled apart.
Yep.
So we should all be trying to have that Roddenberry vision of, doesn't matter what gender, what race, what religion, let's
Yep.
all come together and work together.
Doesn't matter.
It's
We're still one species.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Instead of
that's
trying to
the
blow
only
each
thing that
other up,
matters. Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
trying to blow each other up, let's work together.
It is something that now more than ever needs to be celebrated, and I feel we are doing that. The likes of Mike One here and myself, where we share our love of Star Trek and shout it to the heavens, and it's
Yeah,
about showing people that there is hope in the
Yeah.
future and that humanity can overcome these issues now more than ever, where the
absolutely.
world just seems to be like it's on fire.
Yeah.
And just having that hope that we can overcome this, and the future is not always dystopian, it's not always bleak, that
Right.
something good will come of this. Just
Yep.
just don't look at the Star Trek timeline around about now.
Yeah, let us not try. That's not.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
we
like
need to
we can't
get
have first contact until we have World War III, and I'm like, let's skip that part. Let's just go
Yeah,
straight to first contact.
yeah, yeah.
so exactly we've got to get through World War Three yet.
No, 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 no. We're good.
Uh,
We're good. No, no, no.
yes.
Let's.
We'll just send a message up, just hello Vulcans, and just
Yeah.
wait.
Help.
Help,
SOS.
yeah.
Help,
Yeah.
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they'll
White
just say
flag.
too primitive.
Yeah. Like, ugh.
Oh, the humans again. Oh no.
Yes.
Oh gosh, will they
Unread.
stop?
So, what are some of your favorite moments from working on Star Trek?
Ooh. Ooh. Oh gosh. Well,
And
I mean,
before we say anything else, is that a cat?
yes, my cat
Kitty.
just came in. That's his name is Iyapa.
Iapa.
He's
Yeah.
named after the Incan god of storms.
Oh.
You
Ooh.
know, like you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, touch wood, I'm waiting to have I'm waiting to have a visit from the adoption place. But I'm hoping that when I get back from Vegas, I will have two kittens. Um, and
Oh.
they are the most adorable things on the planet.
Oh my gosh, those look that
Oh.
looks like a motivational poster. It's so
Yes.
Yes.
cute.
And the white one has one blue and one green eye. And I've
Oh.
already decided that the tabby is going to be, and they're both girls, so the tabby is going to be called Dax.
I love that. Oh,
The,
I don't know what the white one is going to be called. I'll let the other half decide that. He can figure that one
maybe
out. But the
maybe
tabby is
Kira?
going to be Dax.
Kira.
No,
Maybe
he
Kira.
won't have a Star Trek character.
Oh.
You
We'll have
gotta trick
one. We'll
him.
have Dax.
You gotta trick him into,
Yeah.
Well, I always said if I was to have a
knowing.
cat, I wanted to call it Neelix, but as they're girls, I thought I can't really call them
Neelix could be a
Neelix.
girl. Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
it's the
It's like
whiskers.
calling. I've known a girl named Charlie.
Yeah,
Drew Barrymore. Her name is Drew. That's
true.
yeah. Come on, come on. Neelix can be a girl's name.
Anyway, sorry, we got
Everyone.
sidetracked.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, cats.
Cats are more
I
important.
do. I've always wanted to get a dog and name him Lieutenant Barkley. So,
Oh.
Reg.
yep, just Lieutenant Barkley, and he would have his little com badge. But of course, the dog,
They,
knowing with that name, he'd be like a neurotic mess. So, anyway,
I was going to say they did do Star Trek collars at one point.
yes, they did.
They did, yeah, when the
Yes.
card came out. Yeah.
No, these were old. These are like 12 years
Oh,
old.
really? Oh,
Yeah, yeah, because they also did lanyards as well that matched. And I had the gold command lanyard from TOS. And I always said if I was to ever get a dog, it would have to be a cat collar. But too late now, they don't do them.
Oh well.
So yes.
You could probably find it
eBay. Yeah, I'll find it on eBay somewhere.
eBay or Etsy.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's some of my favorite memories? First off, like working on any show like this is a dream because of how special it is and
Yeah.
how it's introducing the next generation, literally, to Star Trek. And I have, a 3-year-old nephew that I know, when he gets a little bit older, because it's a little, too old for him,
Yeah.
even though he's a genius. But when he gets a little bit older and can enjoy this, like what an exciting moment to be able to introduce him to Star Trek in such a amazing way. But I think again, my favorite part about doing this is being accepted so openly with the Star Trek community and being able to do all the conventions and meeting everyone. Um, and also the actors have been so welcoming and opening to me, and now I consider a lot of them good friends. And pinch me. If you'd have told little Starfleet officer Bonnie from Star Trek: The Experience that she'd be having dinner with going out to dinner with Terry Farrell, and then at the same time you know hanging out backstage with Picardo and like goofing off with like I would have slapped you. I'd have been like, there's no way. Or one of the most surreal moments for me was in season 1, episode 6, the Kobayashi Maru episode, where the credits rolled at the end, and there my name was on the same screen as Leonard Nimoy and Nichelle Nichols and Renee and Gates McFadden, and I was like, what is happening? you kidding me?
Please tell me you've got that printed and framed somewhere.
Yeah.
I did actually. Shout out to, is it Michael? There's a wonderful con goer and fan that brings prints to my table for me to sign, and they were so good. He would get like high def screenshots of my characters, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm terrible at this kind of stuff. And he was such a dear and went and sent me all of them from season 1, and
Oh.
then now that season 2 is out, he went through the entire series and did it for all the characters I've played on season 2. And then I sent him a request going, can you go back to season 1 and get a screenshot of the credits of my name? And he did it. And so now I have this high res photo of it, and I'm gonna go get it printed out on canvas and hang it in my office. Boopy doop boop boop. I know the perfect spot for it.
Do you have a favorite line from Prodigy that you've done? And if you do, you need to say it in the voice.
Okay. Oh man. I mean, my character, when it comes to the ship, it's not quite as exciting, but I do remember loving the exchange in the pilot of, Gwen, admit it, you're in cat boots. You're instead of cahoots.
Boots. Yep.
I loved that, the cat boots callback. And then there's so many good one-liners in Prodigy. I mean, episode 13, all the world's a stage, live logs and proper. Are you kidding me? It's so funny. It's so good. And so I love doing that, like the live logs and proper. And people just go, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Episode 13 of season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy, nerd. Let me revoke your card.
Yeah.
But no, I do love in season 2, the episode with, where everything's shattered and they're going through these different universes, and they end up in, spoilers, they end up in the mirror universe.
Yep.
For a hot second. And, Gilly and the whale giving their location away, and even the whales are evil. Like, I mean, that line was just so good. So I don't know. There's just so many good lines. There's so many, Janeway gets some, I just rewatched recently the episode where she goes into like badass battle, Janeway with the tank top and the,
Yep.
If you want my ship, you have to get through me. It's like, are you kidding me? He's so good. I'm just.
Oh dear. So, what's next for Bonnie Gordon?
Well, oh gosh. I mean, I'm doing a whole bunch of conventions. Obviously, Star Trek Las Vegas.
Yep.
But the creation just released a whole regional Star Trek tour. So Star Trek Dallas, Nashville, Chicago, Jersey, and I mean, just follow my social media to find out where I'm going to be next. I'm working on some new music. There's a new sci-fi series that I just got cast in.
Ooh.
That we're supposed to be shooting the pilot sometime either in the fall or spring of 2025.
Ooh.
And it's called Manhattan Transfer. It's based off of the book Manhattan Transfer. I know there's a band by that name too. It's not the band. But it's the entire city of Manhattan gets abducted by aliens. You can go to manhattantransfer.tv to find out more. And
Ooh.
in the cast is Casper Van Dien from Starship Troopers.
Yep.
But also Tim Russ, Doug Jones, John Billingsley, Dominic Keaton, me. It's a huge Star Trek. Walter's in it. We get Chekhov. He's in it too. So it's amazing. It's amazing that there's so many Star Trek actors in this series. So it's going to be like a sci-fi blender of all stars. Just and me getting to play with them. I'm like, oh, I want to play. Put me in, coach. So I'm very excited about that. And then December, if you're in LA, I'm in a musical called Die Hard the Musical. It's a Christmas parody show. It's very funny. And then we fly to London and do it in the West End. So for all you UK folk, if you're looking for something to do around Christmas, December 21st to be exact, I will be in the West End performing as Holly in Die Hard the Musical.
And I'm
so
definitely
excited.
going.
Oh, it's so fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited to be a part of this cast and this show. It's so campy and ridiculous. I mean, if you like Die Hard, if you like parody, if you like musicals, if you like me, show up.
Um, so so the Doctor has appeared and you have a time machine, aka the TARDIS.
Oh,
If you could go
duh.
back,
Uh-huh.
if you could go back to any Star Trek show and be a character on it, who would you pick?
Oh, oh, this is hard. Oh, oh, okay. Honest, I'd want to say Voyager because I love Janeway so much,
Yeah.
but I would have to do something. I would want so terribly to do something on Next Generation because Data is one of my favorite characters, and I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. So I
Mhm.
would have loved to have been in the holodeck with Data, solving a Sherlock Holmes mystery.
That
Screw
would be
LaForge.
brilliant.
I'll be his Watson. Let's go. Let's go. To play a character on a holodeck. Like I love in DS9, I love the Hollow Lounge where they do the whole Vic Fontaine
Yeah.
thing. In fact, at the regional Star Trek conventions, I create my own show where they get Chick Fontaine and I do a full like hour and a half jazz concert for
Please
everyone.
tell me you're doing that in
So
Vegas.
Yeah.
not in Vegas. No,
Oh,
there's too much programming. I am doing the magic show though. I'm doing a magic show in
yes.
Vegas with a magician, and there will be music involved. I'm singing a lot. I'm singing with the Roddenberries. They got me working. Don't worry, you'll find me. You'll hear me. But I love that. So if I could go back, I would be on any show really, and I would love to be that like a type of holodeck character that just shows up in all the holodeck things like the Sherlock Holmes, the jazz show. Like I maybe just like make me like a generic holodeck character where they're like she's in everything, but like have it be like a computer glitch where I just get to play dress up and be all the
Jeffrey,
different
in other words, you
characters.
want to be the female Jeffrey Coombs. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Please. And I'm manifesting this out into the universe. I would love a chance to audition and be a part of Starfleet Academy.
Kurtzman, you heard it here first.
Hey! But again, it's so hard to figure out, it's not like the Hagemans where I can just stand outside in the bushes waiting for them to look away,
Well, I mean,
something.
you could do something similar with
Just
Kurtzman, I suppose.
just fly to
Yeah.
Toronto and just turn up.
I mean, their companies, though, their company's called the Secret Hideout. Do you know how hard
Yeah.
it is to find a secret
Yeah.
hideout and then stay secret from
Yeah.
them? Yeah.
I have a question for you, Bonnie, if it's
I have
okay
an
with
answer
you,
for
Mike
you.
one.
Go for it.
So, obviously, apart from Prodigy Season 3, which, if we don't get, the fans will rent
Riot.
more planes.
I feel like it's the buzz has been so wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope Netflix is paying attention because
Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from Prodigy Season 3, what would you like to see happen in the future of Star Trek?
I mean, obviously, all the fans want Star Trek Legacy. I would love, love, love a show where we get to see more of Captain Shaw. Todd Stashwick, I felt
Yes.
knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
He's a dear friend of mine, and when he pulled me aside, he's a big D&D fan as well, and so we were playing Dungeons and Dragons or something, I can't remember, but he pulled me aside and was like, look, you're under the same Trek NDA, so he's like, I need to show you this picture. And he showed me like a picture of him in Starfleet uniform. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, he's like a bit part. Or like, oh, he's like a little side character. That's so cute. Good for him that he got
Did you see the
Star
pips?
Trek.
Yeah.
Apparently I wasn't paying that close. Well, it was a very quick, like, oh, look at you. Look
Yeah.
at you cosplaying at a convention. It was like that level of like, to where when the show came out, I was just like blown away. He stole every single scene. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
he was brilliant.
Well, Terry
So I would
Matalas did
love to
say-
see. I would love to see him be able to do more, if not with Captain Shaw, then any other character. I mean, that man is a freaking Swiss Army knife of epicness. So I would love to see him shine more. And the Trek community has like been feverish for doing a show with him. Jerry Ryan. The Star Trek Legacy thing. I can't wait to see Starfleet Academy. I'm really excited to see what they do with that.
Yep.
I mean, I love Strange New Worlds. Would love more of that. So keep it coming. Like, don't don't cancel our
Don't
shows.
stop.
Nope.
Don't stop believing in
Stop
the
cancelling
Federation.
shows.
Exactly.
So
But no, I
before,
there's so much I'd want to see.
yeah, there is a lot.
Yeah.
So before I do the last question, which is going to be super easy and you won't have to think about answering at all,
Oh.
Goodwill, do you have any other questions you would like to ask? Or forever hold
No,
your
I
peace?
do. No, I do not. I know her favorite pie, and I know what she wants in the future of Star Trek. I
That's
am
it.
fulfilled.
So we need to find cherry pie when we're in Vegas. Gotcha.
I love, man, any pie will do. I hate to say that.
We will
Any
bring, I
pie
tell you
will
what,
do.
we
I
will bring
love
you
pie.
pie. There we go.
It doesn't have to be cherry. I'm down with anything. I mean, lemon meringue, key lime,
Will
Fine.
they allow
mixed
us into the
berries,
convention in Starfleet uniforms with just
meringue,
pies?
or a
Of
mixed
course they will.
berry,
Ooh, mixed
apple,
berry. Ooh.
Yeah.
blackberry cobbler. Ooh.
Pie.
Ooh.
Just pastry and some kind of filling.
Just any type of, yeah,
Yeah.
any type of.
I'm hungry now.
I
Yeah, me
know,
too. I
right?
haven't
Me
had dinner
too. I know. Now we're all hungry.
yet.
All the listeners are like, you evil group of. I was going to say a bad word, but I don't know if I'm allowed to
Yeah,
say
go
Whatever,
for
we're
it.
all gonna have pie
You
after.
bitch.
So, Bonnie Gordon, what does Star Trek mean to you?
Ooh. I know this answer has been used before by other people, but there's no other way. There's no other better way to put it. Star Trek means to me hope.
Yeah.
Hope for a better future. Hope that we can put differences aside. Hope that we can learn to live together. Hope that we can solve things like world hunger and disease. And, like how amazing will our world be when we can figure out how to create a replicator
Yeah.
and solve. And I mean, science is changing every day and adapting every
Yeah.
day. I mean, they're able to build and grow meat, soon that tastes convincing, hopefully. But it's one of those things where when that day comes, where people don't have to worry about hunger, where people don't have to worry about, um, what I love about the future that Star Trek shows is that there's no like actual poverty or, um, people are never needing basic needs like healthcare and food and shelter. It's all part of what, the Federation can do for you. So I love that. I love those ideals. I love the fact that we work together with different, types of species, and so you can change that into, cultures of
Yep.
our world, and finding common ground and working together for peace. I just feel like, don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. But it's just there's always so much conflict, and that's part of the beauty of it. It's like you're going to see the war and the rebels, and but one thing I love about Star Trek is like you see things through a different perspective, in the sense that the episode in original series where there's a monster in the caves, and they're sent in there to eliminate it per se, or fight it, and then you find out she's just protecting her babies. It's just a mother protecting her young, and seeing things through someone else's perspective. That's all we need to do. Like we see everything as black and white, and there's so much gray. There's at least 50 shades of it as far as I know, but there's so much gray that we can find common ground in. And you know I feel like that's what Star Trek is, the future that we should all be trying to aim for.
Yep.
And I've said this on other interviews as well, but what I love about Prodigy is it is introducing that younger generation to Star Trek.
Yep.
And the fact that you get this group of alien species that are all so different, all different body types, different genders. I mean, Zero, from the very first episode, introduces themselves and says I'm non-corporeal. I'm not a she or a he.
Yeah.
And just to introduce it so simply, and then for the entire show they refer to Zero with they them pronouns. To make it so common to where kids are just introduced at such a young age that where it's not taboo or woke. It's just it exists.
Yep.
And
it
that's
does.
just what I feel like people should be able to just exist as who they are and
Yep.
be able to live their lives and love who they want to love. And Star Trek, I think, really pushes for that
Yep.
of finding who you are as a person, growing to be the best you can be, and
Yep.
then living in harmony with those around you. Oh, the world would be such a better place if we all just
It
find the
would
Federation
indeed.
now, right?
Yep.
So that's what Star Trek means to me, is that little kernel of hope of there is a better future for us, and self-discovery, not only discoveries out in the universe, but self-discovery. You know, you learn so much about yourself on these journeys, and you know, the more species and the more adventures you have and the more you learn about the cosmos, the more you ultimately learn about yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Hope
I
that
love that.
put that on a pillow. That whole speech.
Quite a large pillow.
Very
sides.
large pillow. Cuddle with
Either that
that.
or that you're going to need a magnifying glass to read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on this week. Michael,
Thank you for
thank you
having
so
me.
much for joining me this week in place
Always a
of the
pleasure.
show. Guys, everyone watching and listening, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can catch up with more Clone Star podcast at clonestarpod.com. And until next time, live long and prosper.
Or live logs and proper.
Exactly.